The laughter echoed through the room. My father-in-law's retirement party was in full swing. But it didn't feel like celebration. It felt like a show, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a part of it anymore. I was standing by the bar, nursing a drink that had started to taste sour in my mouth when she tugged on my sleeve. "Dad, please don't leave me alone with Grandpa today." I looked down at my 7-year-old daughter, her eyes wide with fear, her voice barely above a whisper. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked, bending down to her level, trying to keep my voice calm, my mind racing. She shifted uncomfortably, glancing over her shoulder as though making sure no one was watching. Then she looked back up at me, her face pale, her hands shaking. "He shows me pictures on his phone when Grandma isn't looking, and he makes me promise not to tell." I felt the world around me tilt. My stomach churned. The drink in my hand felt heavier. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. I stood there frozen for a moment, trying to piece it together. But all I could see was the terror in my daughter's eyes. Then I heard my wife's voice calling from across the room. "Honey, Dad wants to take her to see his new workshop." I didn't move. My body was rigid, cold, numb. But I was suddenly aware of everything. The room, the voices, the laughter, all of it felt distant, like I was living in someone else's nightmare. I couldn't shake the image of her terrified face from my mind. I watched my daughter go off with my father-in-law, oblivious to the tension I felt in every fiber of my being. My legs moved on their own, carrying me toward the hallway, away from the noise, away from the chaos of the party. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what had just happened. Was she mistaken? Maybe she was just confused. But no, those words, that fear in her eyes, there was no mistake. She knew something, something dark, and he had done something to make her afraid. I should have confronted him then. I should have gone to my wife, told her everything. But I couldn't. Not yet. I didn't know how deep this went, how long it had been going on. So I did what I do best. I observed. I watched the people around me, trying to understand their movements, their intentions. But nothing felt real anymore. Not her smile, not her family, not even my own daughter's laughter when she came back, safe in my arms. My father-in-law had done this before. I could see it in the way he interacted with her. Too much, too often. A touch here, a lingering glance there. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had missed something all these years. I started digging, quietly. I didn't tell anyone, not yet. I needed answers. I started with the basics, phone records, text messages, anything that might shed light on what had been happening behind the scenes. I didn't confront him. I didn't ask. I didn't even ask my wife. I knew she wouldn't believe me. I kept everything under wraps. There was no rush. The truth would come in its own time. I found the pictures. There were more. I found a hidden folder on my father-in-law's phone, and with every swipe I saw more than I ever wanted to. The pictures weren't innocent. They weren't mistakes. They were carefully hidden, carefully taken. And the way he held my daughter's hand in some of them, it made my blood run cold. It was no longer just suspicion. It was confirmed. But it didn't stop me from needing more proof, more answers. I needed to know how far this had gone. I watched them interact. I saw the way he looked at her when he thought no one was paying attention. I saw the way he touched her. It made my stomach twist in ways I couldn't describe. I had to do something. But what? The evidence came when I least expected it. An anonymous letter slipped under my door. It was brief, but it confirmed. The details were all there. The dates, the times, the trips, the words that had been said. The betrayal, the manipulation, the lies. My father-in-law had been doing this for years, and no one had ever noticed. I knew what I had to do. I waited for the right moment. When my father-in-law returned to the party, I didn't say a word. I didn't react. I didn't let my emotions show. I simply watched him. His smug smile, his casual confidence. He thought everything was fine. He thought no one knew. But I knew. I knew exactly what he had done. I didn't need to confront him yet. I simply handed my wife the letter. She looked at me, confused. Then her eyes went to the paper. I said nothing. I didn't need to. She already knew. The blood drained from her face as she read. Her reaction was immediate. She dropped the letter, her hands shaking. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say. I had already said everything with that letter. I had already made my move. She tried to speak again, to apologize, to explain, but I didn't let her. "You knew," I said, my voice as cold as I could make it. "You've known for years. You allowed this to happen." Her face crumpled, her world unraveling before her eyes. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back, watching her disintegrate. "I'm done," I said. "It's over." And I left. The sound of the door closing behind me echoed in the empty house. I was free now. Free from the lies, from the manipulation, from the family that had destroyed everything I once believed in. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I felt nothing. The truth had been exposed, and now I was free to walk away. It was over, and nothing would ever be the same. And for the first time in years, I was finally in control.